We were coming from San Ignacio and wanted to get to Bahía de la Concepción, an earthly paradise on the Sea of Cortes that is characterized by very calm turquoise waters and white sand. But we remind you that a hurricane had already passed through the entire area and had thrown a lot of mud into the sea. And unfortunately, this is what we found. Traveler's tip. The roads in Baja are quite narrow and have little shoulder. You should keep this in mind, especially if your vehicle is large like ours. When a truck came in front of us, Gonzalo closed the driver's side mirror to prevent any friction from breaking it. When we were in Bryce Canyon in the United States, we met a Mexican couple who had a truck similar to ours, and they gave us a lot of advice. Closing the mirror was one of them. Coming out of the mountains, we found the first important town of Santa Rosalia. Its foundation in the late 1800s was due to a French company named Du Boulay. It established in the area in order to mine copper. The area had already been explored by navigators in the mid-1500s, and then by Jesuits in the 1700s. In 1705, they established a mission in Mulegé, 60 kilometers from Santa Rosalia. In addition to the mud that was on the roads due to hurricane, we were struck by the sight of a green liquid coming out of a company with an Asian name. This liquid was going into the sea, and we thought it was contaminated. Later, we found out that this is actually a Korean company that has taken over the old company, De Boleo, as the locals call it. The history of this city is very interesting because the person who apparently discovered the copper deposits in this area was a certain Jose Villavicencio in 1868. He sent samples of his mineral to England where they confirmed that it was high quality copper. In 1873, a German mining company named Eismann and Vasche established itself in the area. It was financed by the House of Rothschild. The company went bankrupt in 1879, and the president of Mexico at that time, Porfirio Diaz, granted a new concession to the French company Du Boulay. This is responsible not only for the founding of the city, but also its particular metal architecture. The type of architecture can be seen in the city's buildings, such as the Cathedral of Santa Barbara. The cathedral itself and the offices of the Boulay Company were designed using plans by Gustave Eiffel himself, the same man who designed the Eiffel Tower in France. These iron structures of the mine can still be seen today because they were never dismantled. Another curious case is that the city was built around the mining industry. This is located in the middle of the city and not on the outskirts as mining companies are usually located. And to make this story even more interesting, we wondered who this mysterious Mr. Villavicencio was, because this year we were in Mendoza, Argentina, and especially in the Villavicencio Hotel and Nature Reserve. This name, the name of the reserve, was due to the fact that around 1860, a man who was also called Jose Villavicencio discovered gold and silver in the area. In addition to discovering the mineral water springs, we wonder if this Jose Villavicencio that was in Argentina was the same man who was in Mexico. If it were the same person, he was traveling the American continent in search of mineral resources. He was looking for minerals and precious metals and reporting the findings to England, especially in the Rothschild house, from where the money would come to finance the mining and exploration of the area. Let's better leave this topic aside and continue with our video. For those interested in missions, Mulegé is an interesting place because it is home of the mission church founded in 1705 by the Jesuits. The mission was devastated by a hurricane in 1717. Then around 1760, the Franciscans took over the missions throughout Baja California. They were succeeded by the Dominicans in the 1770s. This mission ceased in 1828, but the church and its buildings remain as part of the memory of those times. We drove past Mulegé because we wanted to get to the famous and beautiful Conception Bay. The images you see in the photos are from our return. This is why the water looks clear. But remember that this bay was full of mud due to the passage of the hurricane. This is how we would have seen the beautiful Conception Bay if the hurricane had not passed. Travel tip. If you can avoid the month of September to travel to Baja California, do it. Otherwise, you will have to deal with hurricanes. If you like the heat and want to fully enjoy the sea, April, May, and June are ideal. July and August are extremely hot, and although the winter months are spring-like, you will also find yourself a bit cold. Finally, we arrived at the famous Santispac Beach. This appears in many YouTube videos. Unfortunately, we did not see it as we would have liked. The mud had taken away all its beauty. We stopped anyway to sleep on the beach. Here the camping is permitted, although they charge a very cheap entrance fee. And yes, we could not have found it worse. The next day, We left for Loreto in search of a place with less mud so we can enjoy the scenery. Going towards Loreto, the landscape began to get more beautiful, and especially because the sun was finally coming out. It was very hot and we wanted to stop at a beach to go into the sea. The color of the water that you see in this video was very greenish and dark due to the mud that had run into the sea. Usually, these waters have an incredible turquoise color that unfortunately we could not see. Almost arriving at Loreto, we found this perfect stop for the photo. Among the activities that you can do on these coasts, in addition to swimming, diving, and kayaking, you can also see whales during the months of January to March. The food also has a good reputation, especially fish and seafood. The city of Loreto is considered one of the magical towns of Mexico. We passed by it on the way there, but on the way back, we stopped and enjoyed its little streets. This city truly deserves to be designated as a magical town. Desperately looking for access to the sea, we first got into a ramp to lunch boats by mistake. And although we did swim here, we returned in the evening to spend the night. Then, we entered a beautiful and brand new neighborhood that still had houses under construction because we were looking for access to the beach, and we did not know how. Finally, we reached the entrance of the private neighborhood. There, a man who was guarding the private neighborhood let us enter to be able to access the beach. He explained to us that to go to the beach, we had to go through the little streets that surrounded the Loreto Bay Golf Resort and Spa Hotel. In this way, we would access the hotel beach, which was the only one that could be accessed. We followed the instructions and ended up on this spectacular beach. Finally, we relaxed after having seen so much mud and having been so hot. we leave you with the images of the neighborhood and those of the hotel beach. Here we parked Tango because we had a date with the sea. When we were returning from our trip to Baja California, we passed through Loreto again. But this time we entered the city to see its historic center. And these are the images. Loreto, like San Ignacio and Mulegé, also had a mission. The city was founded in the late 1600s along with the mission, and was also the capital of the provinces of the Californias of the Spanish Empire until the capital was moved to Monterey, California, today a city in the United States. We find it extremely interesting to discover that what the Spanish Empire called the provinces of the Californias, including not only Baja and Alta California, today part of Alta California belonging to the United States, but also include the states of Nevada, Utah, part of Arizona, and Wyoming. Loreto was once the capital of all this territory. Looking for a place on the outskirts of Loreto to fill up Tango's tank, we found Puerto Escondido Marina, another very nice but not cheap place to fill up the 400 liters that the tank of our truck holds. We drove around the place and then continued on to La Paz, a spectacular city that we will show you in our next video. We also told that another hurricane was heading straight for La Paz, and we didn't know where we were going to take shelter. We appreciate you watching this video until the end, and we ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Next stop, La Paz.